The Jacksonville Jaguars are a really interesting team to me because it feels like they have a lot of the pieces to be a good team, and for whatever reason just really have not been able to put it together. Last year they had some pretty high expectations, ultimately ended up failing that, but in this video we're going to see if we can rebuild them with their first round pick, Brian Thomas Jr. I've gone ahead and made him a 76 overall with a star dev trait. Now he's only 21 years old, so in this rebuild we should be able to develop him pretty nicely. But Brian Thomas Jr. was not the only 21-year-old player they took out of LSU, because they also drafted Mason Smith in the second round. We are going to be starting him at defensive tackle. He's a 74 overall with a star dev trait. And the last rookie we're going to focus on in this rebuild is defensive back Jaguars Jones, who they took in the third round. He comes in as a 71 overall with a star dev trait as well. Obviously though, the NFL draft is not the only way you can add help to a team. They were pretty active in free agency as well. They managed to sign Gabe Davis and Devin Duvernay at receiver to really help out Trevor Lawrence, and they got him a new center in Mitch Morse. Over on defense, they added Eric Armstead at left end. They also signed Darnell Savage to start over at safety, and they brought in Ronald Darby. I've just decided to start Jaguars Jones over him just so he can get a little bit more experience and maybe develop. These will be the schemes and playbooks I am running for at least right now in this rebuild. They may change, they may not change. I've changed them in the past, I have not changed them in the past. But either way, we're going to start with a West Coast zone run scheme and a disguise 3-4 to go with the Dallas Cowboys offensive playbook. Still one of the best playbooks in the game, especially in simulation like this. And defensive playbook is going to be John Harbaugh's over in Baltimore. So like I said, they've had some pretty high expectations. We're going to go ahead and make our season goal from the start to make the playoffs. I feel like this team is good enough to at least get into the playoffs. Maybe not as winning the division, but at least as a wildcard team. One of the biggest points in this rebuild is going to be quarterback Trevor Lawrence. He's a 78 overall right now, but does have a superstar dev trait. At 23 years old, there is still a chance you can develop him into a really solid quarterback. It's just really going to depend on how he plays the next couple years if we decide to keep him or ultimately move on. For us to actually move on from him though, he is going to need to play pretty bad, and there's still going to need to be a top quarterback prospect we can actually grab. But here's what the current draft class looks like. I'm seeing a lot of quarterbacks here in the top 10. Obviously, this is not going to be the year that we even consider moving on from Trevor Lawrence. Well, we managed to get off to a good start in this rebuild by getting a win in our first game, 28-23, and Trevor Lawrence threw 3 touchdowns, which is obviously a fantastic start. In week 2, though, we're going to have a much tougher test with the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, one of, if not the best team in the NFL, and probably the strongest team in simulation in Madden 24. Probably their only competition is really the Dallas Cowboys, but let's see if we can pick up a win here in week 2. Well, this is probably going to be the biggest shock of the entire episode. We shut out Kansas City 28-0. We hold Mahomes to just 115 passing yards. He went 16 for 28. Alright, maybe our defense is really good. Well, we got off to a good start to the year. Now we're going to jump to the midway point and see if we can continue what we started or if we kind of fell apart. Well, whatever we've done is absolutely working. We are 6-1 on the year right now. We have the number 1 offense in the league and the number 8 defense. This might be the best start I've ever gotten to a rebuild. Trevor Lawrence is playing pretty solid with 1,700 yards, 11 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. But Travis Etienne already over 600 yards and 9 touchdowns on the year. And Dearness Johnson also has 3. I probably just mispronounced his name. Receiving, Christian Kirk has 4 touchdowns. But Brian Thomas Jr., 39 catches, 457 yards, and 5 touchdowns already. Now that we have seen how we started this year fully with a 6-1 start, let's jump ahead and see if we end up in the playoffs. Well, I would say we ended up as a really solid team here. We finished with a 12-5 record, end up winning the division, get to take on these Chargers in the wildcard round of the playoffs here. We are finishing with the number 1 offense and the number 5 defense. But if we come take a look at the standings, there is something a little bit insane. The Baltimore Ravens managed to go 17-0 in the regular season. That is absolutely terrifying. Before we jump into our playoff game though, let's take a look at the season stats. Trevor Lawrence, 4,300 yards, 37 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions. On the ground, Travis Etienne with 1,300 yards, nearly 1,400, and 18 touchdowns. That is insane. Receiving, Brian Thomas Jr., 99 catches, 1,277 yards, and 11 touchdowns. An absolute stud of a receiver. Christian Kirk goes for 1,200 yards and 14 scores. Gabe Davis only caught 2 touchdowns. Evan Ingram caught 3. Travis Etienne got 3. Now let's see how the defense played. And I'm not going to try to say your name, but you led the team in tackles. I apologize to any Jaguars fans. In sacks, Trayvon Walker got 6.5 to lead the team. Eric Armstead came away with 6. And interceptions, Tyson Campbell got 4. He got 3. Devin Lloyd got 3. And Andre Sisco came away with 3. Now, here is the way I simulate games for the playoffs in these rebuilds. I go in and I super sim most of the game. If it looks like it's going to be a good game near the end, we will jump in. Now, I know the final score of this one looks close, but we managed to score in the last couple minutes. We need the defense to get the ball back. They could not do it in simulation, so we fall in the first playoff game of this rebuild, 23-21. Now, I will admit I probably should have jumped in and watched that final defensive drive to see if we could get a stop, but we still have multiple seasons of this rebuild, so it's not the end of the world here. And the Ravens end up capping off a perfect season with a Super Bowl win, 31-21 over the 49ers. Now we get to jump into our very first offseason of the rebuild. We only have 3 players ready to negotiate their contracts, which is a little bit weird. Travis Etienne is one of them. We are going to take that 5th-year option on him. We are also going to take the 5th-year option on Trevor Lawrence, even though he apparently has very little re-sign interest. What is stopping you from wanting to re-sign, dude? You just had a fantastic season. We went 12-5. Oh, it's because I changed the scheme and it's no longer the one that he wants. Okay, whatever. Just, I guess, get over it. We'll offer you a shit ton of money here in a couple years. And the only other guy that wants a contract is Chandler Brewer, who is a 59 overall guard. So, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and not re-sign that guy. So, in terms of team needs, this team doesn't really need a lot. There's young players all over the place. We are obviously a really good team. Just went 12-5. Unfortunately, lost in the first round of the playoffs. One of the things I was really looking at getting was a right end, but there's not really anyone here, at least not better than what we have at a 72 overall. I'll probably look in the draft to replace that. The only thing that I've actually offered is one corner, and it's actually not even a corner. Did I offer a safety? Yeah, it was a safety. I knew it was a defensive back, but either way, we're going to offer Eric Rowe. We'll see if he takes that contract, and he is, just to be a backup free safety, and that's the only guy I'm signing. We're going to build the rest of this offseason through the draft. With our first round pick in this rebuild, we're going to take defensive end Brian Boston out of Arizona State with B block shedding, A power move, A tackle, and his combine was also pretty solid. So Brian Boston, welcome to Jacksonville with a hidden dev trade. With our second round pick, I'm going to take defensive back Cordell Brinkley out of Tennessee, A catching, B man, B press, B zone. He is not the fastest corner I've ever seen, but I think those ratings may be able to make up for it, and Brinkley will be a normal dev trade. That is not what I wanted to see. But with our third round pick, we're going to take center Eric Brandt out of Alabama. Now, he may end up playing guard for us, but he has some pretty solid ratings here, so welcome to Jacksonville, another normal depth trait. Okay. Now, the way I do drafts in these rebuilds is I only pick in the first 3 rounds, and then I turn it over to the computer for the rest of it. So the draft picks I ended up taking are all 74 overall, and at least one of them in Brian Boston is a hidden dev trait. Past that, we got a 72 overall corner, a 69 overall receiver, a 69 overall outside linebacker, a 68 overall receiver, a 65 overall outside linebacker, and a 66 overall tight end. The best player in the draft ended up being a quarterback in Paul White. You like the Big Show, Paul White? Apparently, the Raiders have decided to put the Big Show back there at quarterback as a 79 overall with a hidden dev trait. Let's take a look at the team before we simulate any of Season 2 just to see some of these upgrades. Trevor Lawrence, now a superstar X-Factor quarterback. Travis Etienne, a superstar dev trait. Christian Kirk's a superstar, along with Brian Thomas Jr. and Mac Jones. What in the world did you do to upgrade to a superstar dev trait? Apparently, it happened in the preseason for week 2. You can see here, dev trait increased to superstar dev. I really have no idea why, but I guess we're gonna roll with that. Aside from that weird thing going on defense, we still have Mason Smith as our starting defensive tackle, but we've added Brian Boston at right end, so hopefully our defense is even better than it was last year. Campbell is now a superstar dev trait, and Josh Allen is now a superstar X-Factor. Setting the season goal for this season, we're just going to go ahead and make it to make the playoffs again. I really wish there was like a win a playoff game objective, but it's either make the playoffs or win the Super Bowl, and I don't think we should really be going for that just yet. Here is hoping that our season goes just as well as it did last year. Well, obviously we went a little bit better because we do want to win a playoff game. So does someone want to tell me what changed about this team? Last year we were 6-1 at the midway point. This year we are 3-4. We have the number 7 offense and the number 15 defense. We're still second in the division, so I guess we're not doing absolutely awful right now. Trevor Lawrence seems to be on pace for a much better year. Apparently, Mac Jones came in and threw one pass for a 5-yard touchdown, but Lawrence has 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. On the ground, Travis Etienne, 500 yards and 4 scores. And then receiving, Christian Kirk, 3 touchdowns, but Brian Thomas Jr. already off to a good start with 5 on the year, and Evan Ingram has also caught 5. Well, I really don't know what to expect out of this season now, because I figured we would be about as good as we were last year, but apparently not. Okay, so we still managed to turn it around and win the division with a final record of 10-7. We're going to come in with the number 6 offense and the number 6 defense, so I guess we really did turn it around. Let's go check out some stats. Well, Trevor Lawrence ended up throwing a few more picks this year, 35 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. On the ground, Travis Etienne ran for almost 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns. Receiving, Christian Kirk, 1,200 yards and 7 scores. Brian Thomas Jr., 961 yards and 10 touchdowns. Evan Ingram got 7. Gabe Davis rebounded nicely from last year, getting 8 touchdowns this year. Over on defense, it looks like you're still leading the team in tackles. Still not going to try to say your name. But Josh Allen came away with 10 sacks on the year. Eric Armstead got 7.5. And interceptions, Andre Sisco came away with 4. He got 3, I believe, for the second year in a row. And Devin Lloyd came away with 2. Darnell Savage came away with 1. So none of our corners got an interception this year. That is an interesting stat. The Dallas Cowboys ended up with the best record in the league, and the Ravens don't go undefeated this year. Hell, they don't even get the 1 seed this year. It looks like Kansas City got it over them, but they're still in a pretty good spot to repeat as Super Bowl champions. But no matter the records, it is now time to jump into the playoffs and see if we can pick up a win in the wildcard round this season. And now for the second year in a row, we will lose in the wildcard round. This time we did lose by 2 scores, so that's why I didn't jump into this one. Final score was 17-7. Apparently our offense never got rolling. This year's Super Bowl ends up going to the Miami Dolphins by a final score of 16-13. If you look on the right side of the screen, you can see that the Big Show ended up winning Offensive Rookie of the Year in Vegas. Now, this might be the offseason where the team really starts to change. We have $88.9 million in cap, and there are 15 players ready to negotiate. I do want to bring back Tyson Campbell, so we're going to offer him a 4-year deal. He has some interest in coming back here, and he will be re-signing. The next contract up is Andre Sisco. He's a superstar depth tray, only 25 years old, wants a 3-year offer. We're going to give that to him, and he will be returning as well. Now, this might be really interesting this offseason. Both of our middle linebackers have no interest in coming back whatsoever. He is now a superstar depth tray at a 90 overall. So if I get to keep one, I'm going to offer him a lot of money for him to come back on a 4-year deal, and he will be returning. And I just noticed that Devin Lloyd is actually a 5th-year option, so we're going to go ahead and keep him as well right now, even though he has no real interest in coming back. We're also going to take the 5th-year option on Trayvon Walker. How about Brandon Sheriff? Can we keep him for one more season here? And yes, we will. Now, the rest of these guys, including Mac Jones, are going to get to walk into free agency. Jones still a star depth threat. I know we saw he was a superstar. Obviously, did not put up the stats to keep that, considering he's a backup quarterback. Maybe I should have traded him, but either way, we're going to head into free agency with about $42 million in cap. This will be our free agent class for this year. I signed defensive tackle Michael Pierce. Now, Mason Smith is still going to be our main one, but I want a better one for like rushing the passer whenever we're in those situations. So I think having Michael Pierce in simulation will really help us out. I signed left tackle Cam Robinson and then corner Michael Carter. With our first round pick in this draft, we're going to take safety Patrick Lacey out of Stanford. He's 22 years old, has B in every key rating down there, and then he also has C play rec, which is a little bit concerning, but he has good speed, good acceleration. He's the fastest safety in the class. So Patrick Lacey, you are a Jaguar, and you also have hidden depth trade. With our second round pick, I'm not really in love with anyone available, so I'm going to go ahead and trade it to the Chargers and pick up a 2nd, 3rd, and a 4th rounder for next season. And then with our 3rd round pick, I'm going to take defensive tackle Chad Fowler out of Michigan State. 21 years old, but he is 401 pounds with B power move, A tackle, and has elite strength. He is going to come in as a normal depth trade. I'm actually kind of shocked about that, but does have 99 strength. Now, looking at the draft recap, we got a 74 overall safety, a 75 overall defensive tackle, so he's not a hidden depth trade, but he's still pretty good. And then the computer took a 71 overall receiver, a 65 overall tackle, a 66 overall quarterback, and a 66 overall outside linebacker. There were 2 players in this draft that were an 81 overall. One of them was a middle linebacker that went with the 14th pick to Washington, but this would have been really nice for us to get an 81 overall strong safety that went with the 6th overall pick to Houston. Here is what the team will look like for season 3 of this rebuild, and Trevor Lawrence still a superstar X factor, but apparently the quarterback the computer took is a hidden dev trait. Remember, Lawrence, I believe, is in a contract year, so I believe we'll have to pay him at the end of this season or find a new quarterback if he refuses to re-sign. But Travis Etienne still a superstar dev trait, Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas both superstar dev traits, and now Evan Ingram is a superstar dev trait as well. The main additions we have on our defense this year are Michael Carter, who we got in free agency, and Patrick Lacey, who we took in the first round of the draft. So hopefully we can get back to the playoffs again, and this time maybe win a playoff game. Our season goal for this year is once again going to just be to make the playoffs. And at the midway point of season 3, we are now 4-2 with the number 23 ranked offense. That's not good. What about points per game? We're number 17. But in defensive points per game, we're number 3 and are ranked as the number 1 defense in the league. Trevor Lawrence is taking care of the ball this year. 10 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. Travis Etienne has 5 rushing touchdowns and almost 600 yards. And receiving, Christian Kirk has 1 touchdown. Brian Thomas Jr. only has 277 yards, but has caught 5 passes in the end zone. But here is going to be the big test. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence. He needs a contract extension. I would rather just take care of it right now. So how about a 6-year deal? And he is going to not sign it. Great. All right, let's see if we can at least keep Josh Allen here from the midway point on a 4-year deal, and he will be returning. We are also going to throw a 3-year contract at Travis Etienne, and he will be returning as well. So now jumping ahead 1 week, we can offer another contract to Trevor Lawrence. This time, I guess I'm going to go very player friendly. I don't want to lose our franchise quarterback here in this rebuild, and he is going to re-sign. All right, cool. So I'm glad I was able to lock him down. And for the second time in this rebuild, we finished 12-5, but this time we end up getting the bye week in the AFC side. So we are guaranteed to get out of the wildcard round now. But the 49ers apparently went 15-2, which is kind of scary. Trevor Lawrence had a fantastic year, 4,400 yards, 36 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. Travis Etienne almost 1,400 yards yet again and 12 touchdowns this year. Receiving, Christian Kirk 1,400 yards and 9 scores, but Brian Thomas Jr. 1,100 yards and 15 touchdowns on the season. Just absolutely insane. Leading the team in tackles is the same guy that has every single season. I still don't know how to say your name, and I'm going to keep apologizing for that. But Eric Armstead came away with 10.5 sacks, and interceptions. Michael Carter came away with 3. This is how the first round of the playoffs ended up playing out. We get to take on the 6th seed Cincinnati Bengals here in the divisional round of the playoffs to see if we can finally get a playoff win in this rebuild. We don't jump into this game, but it's for a very different reason than the last few years. We actually managed to win a playoff game here against Joe Burrow and the Bengals by a final score of 27-16, and that 16 isn't even really as close as it was because they scored a garbage time touchdown. We had this game pretty well in hand past probably halftime. But now we get an even tougher matchup as we get the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And like I said earlier, this is generally one of the best teams in this game. I know earlier in the episode we shut them out somehow. I don't anticipate that happening today, but let's go ahead and see if we can win this one. I want to add a quick editor's note here. I don't know what happened to the Madden audio. It was super ugly and super choppy. So the crowd audio you're going to hear is a generic one that I found online. I really don't know what happened to the audio. It was only on this recording. Well, we actually get to jump into a game here with 3:05 to go in the fourth quarter. We are up by 7 from our own 25-yard line. Trevor Lawrence will drop back. He's firing downfield and missing everybody. 2nd and 10. We just need to chew away at the clock and we can head to the Super Bowl, Trevor. 2nd and 10. Hand off to Travis Etienne up the middle, and he's going to get a gain of 4 to set up a 3rd and 6. Trevor Lawrence back in shotgun again from the 29-yard line this time to keep this drive moving. Now, Kansas City does have all 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning should they get the ball back. It's going to be a screen to the outside, and Etienne will have the first down the sideline. He is forced out of bounds at the 48-yard line. That is a massive play, but the game is not over yet. 2:13 to go. From our own 48, Lawrence will drop back to pass. A quick throw to the outside, and that's going to stop the clock at 2:10. I have no idea why we did not just run the ball down to the 2-minute warning, but now a 2nd and 10 from the 48. Lawrence back in shotgun, looking for a pass again. This time he finds his man for the first down, and he's brought down to the 39-yard line. That was Evan Ingram on the reception. That would take us down to the 2-minute warning. So now from the Chiefs 39, Lawrence from under center with a handoff to Etienne right up the middle for a first down and brought down to the 22 as Kansas City will burn their first timeout with 1:56 to play. Out of an I formation, he takes the snap, and it's going to be a handoff up the middle. Etienne breaking tackles again, and this time he'll get brought down for a 9-yard run. They burn that second timeout. Now it's a 2nd and 1. Lawrence back in shotgun with another handoff to Etienne. He's got the first down, and that will send us to the Super Bowl most likely. And yes, we will just knee out the rest of the clock. It took a few seasons and a couple unfortunate losses in the first 2 years, but we are finally headed to the big game. And in that game, we get to take on the Dallas Cowboys, who made it to the Super Bowl last year before losing to Miami. Now they get to take on a different Florida-based team. Well, we will jump into this game with 8:02 remaining. We are down by 10 from our own 25-yard line. We're going to start with a handoff to Travis Etienne, who gets a nice block but is brought down for a 5-yard carry. Lawrence comes out as the only one in the backfield for the next play. Out of a 5-wide set, it's a quick throw that'll be caught by Etienne for the first down, fighting to the 37. Lawrence goes back under center for the very next play. He'll take the snap, and it's back to Etienne up the middle, and this time he's going to end up with a 6-yard carry. Trevor Lawrence is the only one in the backfield here from his own 43-yard line. He'll take the snap. It's a quick throw that'll be caught, I believe, by Gabe Davis, and he has the first down to the 47. Lawrence going back under center. Etienne is still in the backfield here, and that's exactly where we go with it, to the outside, and he gets brought down for another 5-yard carry. We are moving the ball, but it is a very slow process right now. 2nd and 5 from the 48. Back in a pistol set, Lawrence will drop back, a quick throw to the outside, and he got absolutely hammered, and it brings up a 3rd down. With 5:34 to go. From the Cowboys' 48-yard line, Lawrence back in a pistol set one more time. He'll take the snap. It's a quick pass downfield. He's got a man. That's going to be caught by Brian Thomas Jr. all the way to the Cowboys' 28. An incomplete pass on the next play brings up a 2nd and 10. Lawrence comes out as the only one in the backfield. He'll take the snap and look to go downfield. He's going to go deep, and he's got a man and a touchdown to Christian Kirk. This is a 1-score game. So real quick, I really never commentate over the kickoffs because nothing ever really happens. But he fields us from the 2-yard line. He's going to get met and got absolutely hammered, fumbled the ball, and Jacksonville was able to recover it. So we have the ball at about the 20-yard line. However, though, they are going to review this one, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be coming back because, yeah, it looks like he is on the ground before that ball comes out. This is a massive call, though. Unfortunately for us, they do end up calling it back, so Dallas will take over at the 22-yard line with a handoff to the running back to the outside, and he'll get met for a 4-yard play. Apparently the running back is Cam Akers. Now it's a 2nd and 6. Dak is going to line up under center at the 26-yard line, and that's going to be a false start. That moves it back to be a 2nd and 11 from his own 21-yard line. He comes out as the only one in the backfield. He'll look to pass going deep downfield, and he's got a man, but he could not get 2 feet down. Defense, if we can get this stop, our offense will have a chance to win the Super Bowl. On a 3rd and 11, he drops back to pass. He's going to step up and now go deep downfield, and he will have a wide open man, and he has definitely got 2 feet in that time. Well, hopefully we didn't just blow our only chance to get the ball back. 1st and 10 from the 49. It's a handoff to Akers, who goes up the middle, and he'll get met and brought down for a gain of 7 this time. Now a 2nd and 3. 3:45 to play. From the 42-yard line, Dak lines up under center. It'll be a handoff to the outside. He's breaking tackles and has the first down. They come back in an I formation, and it's going to be a handoff up the middle to Cam Akers, and he's brought down for just a 2-yard play that time. Now, we do have all 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning left to use. It's a 2nd and 8. From our 32, Dak lines up under center. I believe Cam Akers is still in that running back, and that's where they go with it, right up the middle, and he's going to get some yards here to bring up a 3rd and 2. And that would take us down to the 2-minute warning. So now on a 3rd and 2 from the 26. Dak from under center. It's going to be a play fake. Rolling to the outside. He throws on the run deep downfield, but that one's going to be knocked away. They should settle for a field goal, and we will have a chance here. I was a little bit afraid they were going to go for it, but instead they settle for a 43-yard field goal and take a 6-point lead. Trevor Lawrence with a chance to win the Super Bowl. 1:48 to go in all 3 timeouts. Down by 6. From the 19-yard line, a quick throw will be caught by Evan Ingram, and we start this with about a 10-yard play. Now on 2nd and inches, he comes back in shotgun. Etienne is the running back. Lawrence will drop back to the pass. He's going to fire over the middle. This time he has Brian Thomas for the first down all the way to the 42. Still going to keep the no-huddle offense going. back in shotgun. Etienne still in at running back. Lawrence will take the snap. A quick throw over the middle will fall incomplete and bring up a 2nd and 10. That would stop the clock at 1 minute and 8 seconds to go. From the 42, he'll drop back. A quick throw. This one will be caught by Evan Ingram for about a 6-yard play, and we burn our first timeout with 1:05 to play. From our own 49-yard line, back in a pistol set, Lawrence will take the snap, going deep downfield, and he overthrows his man. It brings up a 4th and 4. The game could come down to this. 1 minute and 2 seconds to play. Lawrence back in shotgun. To keep our hopes alive in the Super Bowl, we'll drop back. A quick throw to the outside, caught by Etienne. He gets the first down, and our drive will continue here as we run a no-huddle offense with 45 seconds to go. From the Cowboys' 43-yard line, Lawrence will drop back and look to pass again. He's going deep downfield. That one's deflected away and stops the clock at 38 seconds. Lawrence back in shotgun again. Etienne still in the backfield. We'll run the play fake. Don't know who's falling for that here. Lawrence under pressure, going deep downfield. He's got a man, and that is Gabe Davis all the way down to the 1-yard line. We burn our 2nd timeout with 31 seconds to play. Lawrence is all alone in the backfield. We'll take the snap. A quick throw to the outside, caught by Travis Etienne, and we will take the lead in the Super Bowl. With just 28 seconds to go, the kick is away, and it is good. We hold a 1-point lead, and now it is Dallas' turn to try to pull off a miracle. They do have all 3 timeouts, though. He's going to field this at about the 2-yard line, bring it up across the 20 before he is brought down to the 22. So Dak will have 24 seconds remaining. We just need our defense to not blow this. They can even get in field goal range to win this game. Dak back in shotgun from the 22. Will drop back to pass. He's going to fire deep on the first play. He's got a man all the way to the 45. On the first play, really? They come back in shotgun again. They did not have to burn a timeout to stop that clock, by the way. And now it's going to be a play fake. A quick throw over the middle is caught and immediately brought down. They have to burn that first timeout. Now the Jacksonville 46-yard line for a 2nd and 1. Dak is back in shotgun again. We'll drop back, looking for a quick pass downfield, once again to a wide open guy. Our defense just completely sold this game, I believe, with 12 seconds to go at the Jaguars' 22-yard line. Dak under center will take the snap, hand off to, I believe, Cam Akers again, who will be met and brought down, and they will burn that final timeout with 5 seconds remaining. We needed the defense to just hold them out of field goal range. They could not do it. It all comes down to this. The kick is away, and the Dallas Cowboys have won the Super Bowl 29-27. Well, that was a very emotional last couple minutes of the game. We got so close to completing our goal, but I guess now we just need to reload and get ready for next season. Well, it sucks to really look at this year's season recap, but here it is. We lose that game by 2 points, and you can see all of the yearly awards on the side. And we also have a retirement. Our starting right guard, Brandon Sheriff, has decided to retire after 11 years. So obviously that is going to be a position of need going into this offseason. We do have $36 million in cap space right now, but we also have 12 players that are ready to negotiate. I am going to try to bring back Christian Kirk. His interest level is not really high, but we're going to offer him a 4-year deal, and he will be returning, thankfully. We are, however, going to be letting Gabe Davis walk, and then we will take the 5th-year option on Anton Harrison. I decided to re-sign our kicker and punter. Not going to show that, though. It wasn't a huge contract, so it doesn't really matter. But I am going to be letting everyone else here walk into free agency. We obviously did not have a ton of cap space going into this offseason, so I've only signed 2 guys, right guard James Daniels and center Connor McGovern. Instead of us making a pick here in the first round of the draft, we're actually going to trade it away to Pittsburgh and pick up a right end that's an 80 overall and a 4th and a 7th round pick. This is 100% going to be a risky pick. Wide receiver Bo Bush out of Florida is 23 years old. He has some solid ratings like B deep route, C catching traffic, and C release, but he did not compete at the combine or a pro day. It says he has solid speed but elite acceleration. So Bo Bush, welcome to the Jaguars. I forgot what team I was for a second, but he is a hidden dev trait. That last pick we had was actually the pick from the Chargers. I forgot to mention that, but now it's our pick in the 2nd round. Here with pick 31, we're going to take tight end Skylar Fisher out of Washington State, and he will also come in as a hidden dev trait. And now with one of the other picks we got from the Chargers, we're going to take center Mitch Wentz out of Clemson, and he will also come in as a hidden dev trait. Well, I think at this point, I've drafted well enough. I am fine with those guys that I just took. We're going to trade out of the 3rd round with Atlanta. We pick up a 7th round pick this year, but more importantly, we pick up a 3rd round pick next year. I don't feel like this was a bad draft class. We got a 73 overall receiver, a 73 overall tight end, a 74 overall center, And then the computer took over and got a 71 overall running back, a 64 overall outside linebacker, 68 overall right end, a 65 overall left end, a 70 overall running back, and a 63 overall fullback at the end of the 7th round for some reason. I didn't show this guy before the draft, but I am not at all shocked that he ends up being the #1 player in the class because he had A everything on the key ratings for a quarterback. It was just A straight down the list. Had we actually lost Trevor Lawrence, my plan was to trade up and draft this kid, but I also thought about trading up to draft this receiver. He ends up being an 81 overall with 92 speed. Obviously, the offense is going to look a little bit different this year. We have a brand new tight end with Fisher. We lost Gabe Davis, but we gained Bo Bush. Trevor Lawrence is up to a 94 overall generally. Right now, he has some sort of boost to get him up to a 95. And we also have a brand new center at a 74 overall. The main change on defense is we lost Eric Armstead, so Brian Boston will come over and play left end, and then we traded with Pittsburgh to get Brooks, and he will start at right end. But now we get to set our season goal, and last year we made it to the Super Bowl before losing, so this year our season goal is to win the Super Bowl. And at the midway point of Season 4, we are at 5-2 right now. We have the #5 offense and the #5 defense, so still a pretty solid team all around. This year, Trevor Lawrence has thrown for 1,800 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. On the ground, Etienne has ran in for 6 touchdowns. Receiving, Christian Kirk has 5 touchdowns. Skylar Fisher, our rookie tight end, has caught 5. And for the first time, I believe, in this series, at the midway point, Brian Thomas Jr. has no touchdowns on the season. All that's left to do on this season now is jump to the end and see if we can manage to get back to the playoffs. Starting 5-2, probably pretty likely. And now jumping to the end of the season, and we managed to win the division yet again, this time with an 11-6 record, but we get into the wildcard round and get to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. Trevor Lawrence on the season, 4,300 yards, 31 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Travis Etienne ended up running for 16 touchdowns. And receiving, Christian Kirk caught 12 touchdowns. Brian Thomas Jr. ended up with 5. But Skylar Fisher, our rookie tight end, ended up catching 8 on the season. So obviously a pretty solid year from him. And Devin Lloyd led our team in tackles this year with 120. In sacks, Josh Allen got 9.5. And interceptions, he came away with 4. I still don't know how to say your name, and I'm sorry. Obviously, last season we got a bye week, so we got to avoid the wildcard round, which so far has kind of been our kryptonite. We have yet to win a game in this round. But let's jump into this game against the Chargers. Well, we actually won't jump into this game because we get the win 20-13. They did score late in the game to make it look a little bit closer. This game was never really in danger though. Moving on to the divisional round of the playoffs, now we get another home game as we get to take on 11-6 Pittsburgh. And we actually do get to jump into this game. The Steelers are led by Justin Fields. They are down by 8 at the Jaguars 24 with 2 minutes to go. Fields going downfield, and he's going to find his man for the first down to the 13. The next play would be an incomplete ball, so now it's a 2nd and 10. With 1:51 remaining, Fields out of a shotgun set a quick throw downfield to a wide open man, and he's got the first down to the 3-yard line. And apparently that's DeAndre Hopkins, but now a 1st and goal. Fields lines up in an I formation. I believe that's Pickens at the top of your screen, but they'll give it to Najee Harris, who will fight his way down inside the 1-yard line. Running the no-huddle offense, they come out in shotgun. Najee Harris is still the running back. Fields will take the snap out of shotgun again. He's looking to run here. He goes to the outside and will walk into the end zone. They have a chance to tie this game up. Even if they don't get this, they do have all 3 timeouts remaining. Fields is back in a pistol set. Najee Harris is the running back. They give it to Harris, who will fight his way in, and they tie it up at 28 with 1:06 to play. Following the kickoff, it would actually be 1:03 to play from our own 20-yard line. Lawrence out of shotgun will drop back to the pass. He's going to be under pressure and will finally throw this one away. Now a 2nd and 10 with 58 seconds to go in the game. Lawrence is back in shotgun. Etienne is the running back here. He will drop back, and he's going to fire this one downfield and miss everybody. A 3rd and 10, and they could potentially get the ball back. 55 seconds to go. Lawrence from under center with a handoff to Etienne to the outside, and apparently we're just going to force him to burn a timeout, and now we will punt it away to Pittsburgh. Well, last year in the Super Bowl, we needed the defense to not allow Dallas into field goal range, and we're kind of in a similar situation here with about 40 seconds to go. Fields out of shotgun is going to go deep on the first play and find his man deep into Jacksonville territory at the 31-yard line with 37 seconds to go. I believe we have just burned our first timeout. Now it's handoff to Najee Harris, who goes to the outside. He's going to get met and brought down for a gain of 2. That brings up a 2nd and 8. We burn our second timeout. Now Fields will go back under center from the 29-yard line. It's another handoff to Harris, who goes up the middle, and he's going to juke his way through for a 3rd and 1. They would call a timeout with 11 seconds to go. They come out for about a 39-yard try, and they will take a 3-point lead with 8 seconds remaining. Now, we do have 1 timeout, but ultimately, I don't really know if it's going to matter. Depending what happens on this kick return, we're going to field it at about the 8-yard line, bring it up, and get brought down near the 25. So with 3 seconds to go, Lawrence gets one more play to try to keep our season alive. He lines up in shotgun. Etienne is the running back. Lawrence will drop back to pass. He's going to go deep downfield, obviously, and overshoots everybody. And we will lose in the divisional round of the playoffs. So we only have 1 season left in this rebuild to try to win a Super Bowl. But this year's Super Bowl goes to Kansas City, who completely shut out Green Bay 31-0. Now, as we head into the final offseason of this rebuild, we have $64.5 million in cap space, but we do have 17 players ready to negotiate. The first one is Trayvon Walker. 100% I want to bring him back. A 5-year offer, 85 overall, star depth trait. He's a scheme fit, and he's going to test out free agency even though his interest was completely full. So we have a couple 5th-year options here, one with Brian Boston, one from Ramon Brooks, who we just got last year. We're going to take the 5th-year option on both of them. I also really want to bring back Mason Smith here. He has some interest. We'll go and up this money by just a bit, just in case he wants to, not be happy, but he will be re-signing. Well, I'm not thrilled about losing Devin Lloyd. I am going to let him walk into free agency. He doesn't have any interest in coming back, but losing Trayvon Walker absolutely sucks. How about Jarrian Jones, though? A 79 overall. He's been on the team the entire rebuild, and a 3-year offer will get the job done. How about a 1-year offer to Michael Carter for him to come back, and he will also be returning? Well, it really doesn't suck to lose Trayvon Walker because we actually get to keep him, but I've also signed defensive back Christian Gonzalez and middle linebacker Jack Campbell. This is our entire free agent class going into our final season. Now, jumping ahead of the draft, there is right tackle Cordell Williams here at pick number 27. I really don't know everything I generally like to know about offensive linemen, but I think this guy's going to be a solid pick, and I'm going to really hope he's a hidden depth trait, and Cordell Williams will come in as a hidden depth trait. I would say corner is not really a high need for us, but Dante Teague I think is far and away the best player available here. Great speed, solid acceleration, A to C awareness, which is a bit concerning, but does have A-man coverage, B press. Yeah, we're going to go and take Dante Teague, and he's going to be a hidden depth trait. I really don't know much about this guy here in the 3rd round with pick number 27, but defensive tackle Jeff McDuffie out of LSU. A to C block shedding, A finesse move, A tackle. It does have C awareness, which is a bit concerning, but also has solid strength, elite speed, good acceleration. Not really a defensive tackle that fits our scheme, but I feel like we might be able to find a spot on the team for him somewhere, and McDuffie will be a normal depth trait. And believe it or not, we actually have the very next pick here in the 3rd round at pick number 28. We're going to take a middle linebacker DeAndre Harrell out of Notre Dame, and he will also be a normal depth trait. As we view the draft recap now, Cordell Williams is a 74 overall, and I was right about that corner. Dante Teague comes in as a 77. We then got a 71 overall defensive tackle, a 72 overall middle linebacker, and then we got a 73 overall corner in the 4th round, a 66 overall safety, a 65 overall safety, a 67 overall corner, 66 overall outside linebacker, a 66 overall middle linebacker, and a 69 overall running back. Not only was Dante Teague the best player available at that pick, he's actually near the top of the class in terms of overall. The best one is a running back that went to Pittsburgh. Now, before we take a look at the roster for the final season of this rebuild, we have to set our season goal, and obviously it's going to be to win the Super Bowl. Now, generally in these rebuilds, once I get to this season, I will kind of mortgage the team's future to try to win a Super Bowl this year. I really can't do that because we really have no cap space whatsoever. But here will be your final starting offense. Trevor Lawrence, we've turned him from a 79 overall superstar depth trait to a 98 overall superstar X Factor. We drafted a superstar X Factor at tight end. Christian Kirk is now a superstar X Factor. We have a hidden depth trait at right tackle. And we have turned Brian Thomas Jr. into a complete stud here. Last season was his worst season here and still finishes with 879 yards and 5 touchdowns. Obviously, I would love to get back to this where he got 15 touchdowns, or even his rookie year where he got 1,200 yards and 11 scores. And then we have the final starting defense of this rebuild. It does suck to lose Devin Lloyd, but we brought in Jack Campbell, who was a little bit cheaper. The ratings were about the same. We drafted guys like Lacey and Boston to help this team out. We brought back Trayvon Walker on a massive contract. We signed Christian Gonzalez in the last offseason. We drafted a guy like Teague. I am really excited to see what this team can do this year. And now that I've said that out loud, this team will probably end up being like the worst record we've had this entire rebuild. But so far, we have yet to miss the playoffs in any season. Knock on wood, because hopefully I didn't just jinx it. But let's jump to the very end of this year and see if we can manage to make a Super Bowl run. Thankfully, it is not our worst team yet. We finished 11-6 and win the division for a 5th straight season. But this year, the Colts are right behind us. We own some sort of tiebreaker because we both went 11-6 this year, and we'll settle this in the wildcard round. This might have been the best season Trevor Lawrence has had his entire career up until this point. Finishes with 40 touchdowns on the year and only 5 interceptions. Now, he's been lower on interceptions and he's thrown more yards than this, but what about his completion percentage? And it looks like that's going to be tied for his best at a 74%. Still an incredible year from him. And then Travis Etienne, over 1,400 yards and 19 total touchdowns. I believe that 1,400 is going to be a career high for him because he's gotten close to it almost every single year of this rebuild. Finally broke it this year while hitting 300 attempts. And Brian Thomas Jr. took one season to kind of have a down year last year when he only got 5 touchdowns. Rebounds nicely this year with 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns. Bo Bush over 1,000 yards and 9 scores of his own. Christian Kirk 900 yards and 8 touchdowns. And Skylar Fisher came away with 8 touchdowns as well. Even Travis Etienne caught a couple of them. Now over on defense, and it looks like, I'm still not going to try to say your name, number 23 led the team in tackles. And then in sacks, that goes to Josh Allen with 9. Trayvon Walker got 8. Ramon Brooks got 5.5. And then interceptions, we got 2 from him, 2 from Tyson Campbell, 2 from Christian Gonzalez, and then 1 from a bunch of players here. But now we get to a very stressful point in these rebuilds. I have yet to do one of these, at least since the draft, where I actually won a Super Bowl while rebuilding, and it's starting to get a little bit annoying. I'm really hoping we can go on a run this time. But just looking at our offensive ranking, we finished as the number 4 offense and the number 8 defense, and the Colts have the number 24 offense and the number 7 defense. This should be a pretty interesting matchup. Maybe the phrase interesting wasn't really the right word to use. Our offense completely dominated them. The final score is 41-26. We're headed back to the divisional round. Here is how the rest of the wildcard round ended up playing out. We get another home game as we take on the 5 seed Las Vegas Raiders. I don't think we've actually had to go on the road for the playoffs in this entire rebuild. And we're officially headed back to the AFC Championship game. They did score 1 touchdown late in the game, and then we managed to just run down the rest of the clock. So it was a 1-score game, but not an interesting enough one to jump in on. But now for the first time in this rebuild, I guess I jinxed it saying it for the last game, we have to go on the road and we get to go to Kansas City to take on the 15-2 Chiefs. Well, you guys, the rebuild is not looking good right now. 4:42 to go. We're down 21-33. We do have the ball, though, with a quick pass to Christian Kirk. That's going to be a gain of about 7 yards. We do have all 3 timeouts, so there still is a chance we could come back in this one. From the 32, Lawrence is back in shotgun again. Etienne is the running back. He'll take the snap. A quick throw will be caught once again by Christian Kirk, who is going to get brought down to the 43, getting the first down. Now Trevor Lawrence back in shotgun again. Etienne still in the backfield, but Lawrence will once again look to pass, obviously. He steps up and throws on the run deep downfield. He finds his man, and that's going to be all the way down to the 29-yard line. So now a 1st and 10 again. He'll take the snap and looks to pass. He's going to fire this deep over the middle. He's got his man. That's the tight end all the way down to the 6 to set up a 1st and goal. We are definitely not dead in this game just yet. From the 6-yard line, Lawrence back in shotgun. Going to the end zone, and he finds his man. Touchdown, Christian Kirk. So Kansas City will get the ball with 2:49 to go. We do have all 3 timeouts to try to get the ball back. Mahomes is back in shotgun. He'll take the snap. It's going to be a fake to Pacheco. Now he's going downfield, and he finds his man for the first down down the sideline. Finally forced down to the 49. Well, not exactly the start I wanted from our defense. Now 2:43 to play. Mahomes back in shotgun, hands off to Pacheco, to the outside, has some great blocking, and the first down, fights his way all the way to the 31. And that one would take us all the way down to the 2-minute warning. So now we need to burn all of our timeouts, hopefully force a field goal and make it an 8-point game. Hand off to Pacheco up the middle, and he's going to get a gain of about 5 yards, and we burn our first timeout. Now a 2nd and 5 with 1:56 to play. Can y'all please be ready for the run? It's a handoff to Pacheco to the outside, and he will get the first down with 1:52 remaining. Now at the 20-yard line. Unless we can force a turnover, it's not looking good. Handoff to Pacheco again, and he has another first down. Kansas City will be able to run down the rest of this clock. Just out of curiosity, I wanted to know if Kansas City would go on to win the Super Bowl, and no, they would lose to Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears 31-28. So Caleb Williams is now like fulfilled whatever prophecy people think he's going to be. But unfortunately, this rebuild does end in a failure. Now, I think we built a very, very good team. We made the playoffs every single year. We got Trevor Lawrence up to a 99 overall. Brian Thomas Jr. is now a 94 with a superstar dev trait. We gave him an X-Factor tight end. Apparently, it just wasn't enough. We had to count on the defense way too much, and apparently they were not up to the task.